Chase Ybarra, who spends his time balancing college courses and being a husband and father, talks to us about
All
what
right,
it's
Chase.
like
So
to
when
be
did
in a
you
gay
become
marriage
a
with
parent?
children.
I became a parent when I met my partner. My partner has two kids, one from a previous relationship and one that he conceived with a surrogate. Well, when I met my partner, I knew that he had two kids, and I've always wanted kids. I didn't know that when I would get in this relationship, I was going to come into a package deal until we talked about it, and I already knew. If that makes sense, you know what I mean.
Chase compares his relationship and role as a father, where his sexuality is concerned, in comparison to that of a heterosexual couple.
Um, well, being two gay dads, we have very. I think our kids are exposed to more fine arts than maybe a heterosexual family. Maybe, and I might be stereotyping families, but based on my family, my mom and my dad, we didn't really get much of an introduction to the arts or um, uh, weren't as socialized as much as my partner and I try to socialize our kids with the arts and exposing them to different things that I don't know if heterosexual couples do. They might. I don't know. My parents didn't. We didn't do very much. So.
Chase inherited his partner's
Did you read
children
about the?
once they
I
decided
didn't
to
know
live together
anything
here in
about
Boston.
Alma Lewis
Chase
until I
talks
sat down
about
right now
moving from
before you came,
California
and that's
all the
when
way
we
to the East
the meeting
Coast
started.
and details his family's dynamic as a unit.
Okay, with my kids, going back to that, it's funny because my partner had our son with a previous relationship, and our daughter was from, you know, half him and half from, you know, a surrogate, and however that worked prior to me coming into the relationship. It's really funny though because our daughter is like a little carbon copy of me, and not only in the way of her personality, but also in her looks, which is so weirdly unique and kind of cool. Um, and our son is really a lot like him, like my partner. You know, very conservative, quiet. Um, just very different.
He talks about the role of society and focuses on societal judgment regarding his family.
So I think when we're out in public here in Massachusetts, I don't really see much of a problem or how people perceive us because I don't think really anyone pays attention here in Massachusetts. In other words, I think we as in Massachusettsians are pretty open-minded.
He also touches on the
Um,
ridicule his children encounter from
yeah,
other
everything
kids
happens
based on the
in
fact
its
that they
right
have
time.
two gay dads.
Okay, so as far as bullying goes, um, no, I've never experienced that with our son. And then again, our son, you know, when we got together was 16, and that was 7 years ago. So we've never really had a problem with that. However, I also need to explain that he does have special needs, and so he's a little more sensitive and perceptive of things that happen. So um, things that he may interpret as bullying or um, kind of like derogatory towards his parents being gay. Um, it's not exactly that, if that makes sense. Um, as for our daughter, you know, I think one of her first um, times that she recognized that we were a gay couple, because before I was just Chasey. I'm still just Chasey and Papa Chase, but I'm also Chasey, and I don't think my daughter really totally understood until she got into the first grade and they were talking about parents, and she goes, "I have two dads," you know, all proud and everything. And another kid in class was like, "Ew, why?"
Regarding parental roles,
Did
Chase
you read about
outlines the dynamics
I
of
didn't
his
know
family and
anything
their
about
household.
Alma Lewis.
Okay, so we have pretty clear roles that we play in our kids' lives. Um, we both are very loving parents, but I tend to be more of a structured disciplinarian, and that's just kind of how I was raised. Um, I was raised to be really respectful of my parents, and so when it comes to like, I don't want to say discipline because we don't really discipline our kids. Um, I'm the one who kind of takes that role, and my partner is a little more laxed and is. I don't want to say good cop, bad cop, but sometimes I'm always the bad cop.
Also disclosed certain doubts that his family members initially had.
Everything happened. My mom, knowing that when I first met my partner, had kids, she had reservations at first because her thing was with relationships and how finicky they are, and especially gay relationships sometimes are a little more finicky, and that might be again me stereotyping. But sometimes they don't last. But then again, straight up don't last either. But she didn't want me to get too attached, and then what if I got so attached to my partner's kids, and then he's the type of person that wouldn't let me see the kids, after so many years of being together, if that makes sense. That's what her fear was I was going to get attached to the kids.
Overall,
And
Chase
what decisions
exclaims
went into
his
you
happiness
becoming
with
a
the way
parent?
that things worked out. He
Well,
emphasizes
when I met
that
my
everything
partner,
happens for a reason and claims that he has no regrets.
No, everything happened in its right time. It had to happen the way it did. I had to be in my 20s by myself, or not by myself, but not with kids. I had to enter this at this age, in my 30s and 40s, because I think I had a little more world knowledge, a little more patience and understanding than I did when I was younger. So everything I think I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and I think it was the timing. It happened just right. I'm in a place mentally, physically, and every possible where I could be a good parent and a good partner.
For JR 103, I'm Kevin Milton.